Hey, how's it going, y'all? So today I kind of want to go and discuss how the Renaissance affected different parts of the world, such as Africa and Asia, right? So the Renaissance was a time of major change in Europe from about like the 1400s to 1600, right? It focused on learning, creativity, and new discoveries. Even though the Renaissance started in Europe, it had effects that reached out to other parts of the world, including Africa. We're going to specifically talk about how it affected Africa right now, okay? And we'll go into Asia in just a second. So Africa has had a long-standing relationship with Europe in terms of trade, exploration, cultural exchange, and many other aspects. Right? Africa became connected to many of the new ideas and developments that defined the Renaissance because of these different aspects. By trading, by having cultural exchange, different ideas, thoughts are being exchanged back and forth. Right? During this period, like the 1400s to the 1600s, European explorers began traveling along Africa's coast, right? They were interested in learning about new lands and finding trade routes to Asia. In the process, they built trading relationships with African kingdoms and cities. African goods such as gold, ivory, and salt became highly valued in Europe, while African leaders traded for European items like metal tools, fabrics, and glassware. These exchanges helped both sides grow economically and led to a greater sharing of ideas and technology. At the same time, the Renaissance had a big interest in promoting learning of science, thought process, humanism. These encouragements to learn these type of topics encourage Europeans to study Africa more closely and see how these same aspects are being represented and being learned about and taught in Africa. Right? Travelers and scholars began writing about geography, art, achievements, and all this different things because they realized that some of these same aspects were being promoted and done in cities like Timbuktu and the Mali Empire, and other different places because they were centers for education, culture. This attracted scholars from across the region to go to these different cities in Africa to promote and to further the discoveries in these said parts of education. The exchange of knowledge between Africa and Europe helped both continents expand their understanding. Continuing on this process of understanding how the Renaissance affected Asia, right? So we want to go and just refocus and identify what the Renaissance was. The Renaissance was a period of great change in Europe between the 14th and 17th century, right? We already know this. But why was it a period of great change? Is because the growth in art, science, innovation, exploration is really big. They're coming out of the Dark Ages where this was not really taking place. These kind of aspects weren't taking place in Europe, but now they're trying to refocus on this and bring back the revitalization of Roman ideals, right? So even though the Renaissance began in Europe, it influenced many other parts of the world, including Asia too. It affected Asia and included Asia in the Renaissance, through the use of trade, exploration, and cultural exchange, right? Asian civilizations played a really important role, in my opinion, in shaping the new ideas that define the Renaissance, because by going through trade, we're getting new items, new things brought to Europe. Through the use of trade, individuals and explorers are looking for faster sea routes to reach Asia's different markets, right? Different Asian countries such as India, China, and the islands of Southeast Asia were known for having and be able to create valuable goods such as silk, spices, porcelain, tea, many other things. The desire to trade directly with Asia led to new sea voyages and discoveries. This helped connect Europe and Asia more closely than ever before. These connections allowed both regions to exchange goods, knowledge, and technology. Asian inventions also had a big impact on the Renaissance. The compass, paper, gunpowder, and printing press, all of which were first developed and created in Asia. This helped fuel Europe's progress of the Renaissance and through the Renaissance. The compass, for example, improved navigation, which allowed explorers to travel further and more safely across oceans, being able to navigate and spread ideas the Renaissance was developing in Europe to different places, especially in Asia. These technologies, that we just mentioned, showed how Europe benefited from the ideas and inventions that came from Asia, like the printing press. Being able to print and create different pamphlets, flyers, books, being able to spread knowledge and learning is invaluable to spreading Renaissance ideals. So the Renaissance just really helped change how Europeans viewed Asia, right? Artists and scholars became more interested in studying Asian culture, language, and arts because they were able to create different maps of the world, which included more accurate details, right? Explorers, who went to Asia would return to Europe with new knowledge about distant lands. The growing curiosity helped inspire later trade networks and cultural exchanges between Europe and Asia. So in conclusion, the Renaissance affected Asia and Africa by creating stronger trade links, increasing cultural exchange or cultural diffusion, and spreading innovations and inventions that just help shape different ideas for both regions, right? So while the movement began in Europe, Asia and Africa played a key role in providing the knowledge, goods, and technology that made the Renaissance possible. This helps set the foundation for a more global and interconnected world. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a great day. Peace.